In this video, we're gonna weld, we're gonna paint it up, we're gonna fix stuff, etc.
Alright, so we are back to work on the 54 Chevy pickup. You may recall I went to a small town body shop up north of here, I don't know how many times. I think twice with you, maybe once with the members part of the channel. And we put a wiring harness in most of this thing, got it running, and that was it. So I'm going to give you a little background history on it as far as what little I know. Some of it may be wrong, but it doesn't really matter in the end, I suppose. So from what I've gathered, this was in the same family for many, many years, and then a young man bought it who I've become friends with, and he started work on it 20, 30 years ago maybe. A lot of time has passed, family obligations, it got pushed to the side. He ended up maybe getting disinterested, I don't know, but he sold it to his older brother. They had put a 1970-ish era Chevy two-wheel drive pickup front end on this thing, and I forget now. I suppose the same pickup rear end. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not sure what rear axle's under it. At some point, when the original brother owned it, I take it, some work was done on the cowling. There was rust, and it was replaced. I don't know if he had another body man do that. I don't know who did that. Anyway, fast forward, it's been sold to the older brother, and he had that body shop man up there repaint it. Then a few years ago, I come into the picture. He had me come up and take a look and asked if I would be interested in putting it back together. I said sure. It ended up that elderly body man wanted to be the one to put it back together. Absolutely fine with me. I understand. He got it this far. He was going to put the doors on, and the driver's door overlapped the cowl seam by quite a ways. So apparently there were some assumptions made that the door would fit since things had been redone here. Hey, I've been there too, but it did not fit, and so he sliced this out and started welding it back together. He had a little accident with it, and so working on cars is out of the question anymore for him. He had to walk away. He almost 100% got it done, so it's kind of a shame. And the shame of it is that after all the body work's done, you got to go back and do something like this. So that is the big priority job here for us, is to finish welding up all this crack, this cut, and it gets kind of wide down towards the bottom, but we'll patch it up. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to figure out where I want to blend this. If I don't have to repaint the entire cowl side to side, I would prefer not to, but we'll see what I have to do. Anyway, we are going to start with welding this up and getting some body filler back on that thing. the way, I did check the pre-fit of the door. I did put it in, and it looks like it'll be okay. So, before we even started this, I want you to know that. Oh, come there a second. What I'm thinking right now is I am going to paint from the bottom and blend it with this other paint somewhere here in the center. I think where it gets really narrow, it would be an acceptable place. And then with finish sanding and clear coating, I think we can blend it in well enough and it will not be obvious in those very narrow portions of the body around that vent. So, with that in mind, I need to turn my attention to body filler, get that filled back in, let that cure, and then we will start knocking all this down with the DA and then move on to block sanding and guide coating and priming, and round we go. Let's do it. Got the old bus up on the lift here. We can take a quick peek. Let me grab my light here. You can just see, well, let's blind both of us, why don't we? There we go. Just kind of the overall condition of everything. What they had to do this to the suspension to get this late model rear end to work and all of that. Big old beefy drive shaft, that's for sure. 700 R4. I'm draining the coolant because thermostat housing gasket is leaking really bad. Now, this engine was put together years and years ago and has only recently been run. And there's quite a coolant leak, and there was also a concern that there was a leak coming from between, the backside of the engine, like a freeze plug. And honestly, I'm seeing it running down the sides of our bell housing, but also on the top sides of our bell housing. The ring gear really isn't soaked like you would expect. There may be some oil on there coming from the rear main. There's coolant on these tabs, things are just kind of generally wet. So I'm really thinking and I'm really hopeful that it is actually residual from running the thing and coming from that housing, because the very front of the intake was actually all full of like standing water, standing coolant, antifreeze. So I'm wondering if it's coming down from up top on the intake maybe running down the top sides of the valve covers and then spilling over onto our bell housing here. So we're gonna get that fixed. I really think we're okay down here, quote unquote. I'm gonna put, I saw you had a plastic inspection cover. I'm gonna put that on there. And otherwise, I think we're okay. Can see some of the wiring that I did. Bracket I made for the stop switch. I don't know why that boot is the way it is. Yeah, so I just sponged this whole area out. It was completely full. And if we look at the top side of the transmission, you can see the dry dust down the sides, but the entire top is completely saturated. So I'm betting that's what's going on. So I'm gonna replace that, and that should be a fix for that much. I was tempted to say I'm gonna cop a squat under here, but I'd never be so vulgar, so I won't say it. Okay, got our plastic cover on there. I'll have you know, I impressed myself. I cut the cutout for the starter. Got it on the first try. Boom. Okay, enough showing off. Anyway, let me get out of here. And after I did that, I have started wiring in our tail lights. Turn this off. Just getting this one going. I'll finish that up with the loom and all. And we have a tag bracket and light in here, but I have no idea what he plans to do for a bumper and the tag. So that may be for a later date. I just soldered in a pigtail. That's hot, you know. Should I touch it? No, I probably shouldn't. So yeah, I guess I'll get this buttoned up and we'll figure out the next thing to do. Well guys, at this point it's been many moons since we worked on this thing. Okay, quite a few weeks, maybe approaching a couple months. The Jeepster's gone, the 48 Chevy is within the next couple of weeks. I want to take that home. I gotta get this truck out of here, so I'm gonna add some filler. I can tell I still need just a little bit of filler there on the edge, so I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna attack the vent, the cowl vent, get that out of there so that's not in the way for repainting. We'll just keep pushing forward doing body work. I can do manual or mechanical things while I'm letting things dry. But let's see if we can get this thing done. A renewed thrust to make some progress on the 54. Let's dive in. Got this all painted up. It was all the colors of the Chevy Rainbow earlier. So many of these parts get to be, you know. You went for your basic black this time around. That guy. And the bolts. Or a guy could put in a thermostat and then put everything in. Huh. Well, I wasn't too convinced I fixed the coolant leak, but I don't see anything new going on there. There was still wetness in the intake, and so I mopped it out with a paper towel. And I'm really, as we're running it, I'll run it a little more and just double check, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't get it the first time. Anyway, bit of a mystery with the BMM shifter. It should be 700 R4 capable. When I look it up on Holley's website, it says 700 R4 right on there. The brackets on the transmission, on the selector shaft, and that hold the cable down there look to be the correct one for a 700 R4. Basically matches the 4L60E. So I think that's all correct. In the instructions, they say put it in low on the handle, put it in low on the transmission. You set your cable length, pull the little swivel stud off the cable, that's on the cable, pull it off the bracket down there, go to park with the lever, go to park with the handle, make sure it lines up again. This does not. I'm about 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch off for whatever reason between low and park. I don't know. I thought about calling Holley. However, when I do that procedure starting in park, which isn't what they recommend, it seems to work. So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn between going through all the bother of calling tech support and talking to someone that most likely has no experience, you know, or just doing it. So, you know, worst case scenario, he won't be able to see on the gear selector that he's in low. You know, and really, if we lose low altogether because it doesn't go back far enough, what have we lost? You know, how many times is he actually going to just go in low on purpose with a 2-wheel drive pickup in an automatic transmission? You know, it's just, it might just be what it is unless we go through all the rigmarole. I don't know. What would you guys do? Anyway, I'm going to call it good for now. I'm going to button things up, put it all back together, wire up the lights. Yeah, I think it's fine. Now my next issue I'm going to try to tackle, and I'm just really excited about it, is our B&M shifter here. Frankly, it's unimpressive, but you always have to start the engine to get it to crank. You always have to bang forward to get that neutral safety switch to engage. And then it's like the gears just aren't quite, lining up the gears just aren't quite right. So one issue I see, we've got that detent spring down in that gap there. I don't know if you can see that black spring, but I really got to push this thing forward to get that spring to go into the gap. See that? There you go. Partly we got just a lot of looseness here. I also see the stud for our cable is quite sloppy. So I'm going to see if I can tighten some stuff up. I'm going to start with that.
Hey, wait a minute. Look at this. Yeah, that's pretty bad. You know, I don't feel safe riding around on a tire like that.
I don't blame you. That could get you in a lot of trouble.
Maybe I'd better change it.
I would if I were you.
I know that stud topside needs to be tightened up and so forth. Whoop, got the wrong size. But I'm also going to try to back off some of our tension down here and see if that helps that handle click into the detents a little bit easier. I think we just have too much push on our lever. I think we got her whipped, just whacked right in the head here. My issue with all the binding and the weird movements of this thing and just kind of not really working, it was all, I was looking at this brass tube, it was bottoming it out on our cable end here. Took the boot off, and even then it was still bottoming out, and I decided that, you know what, I bet this bracket that holds that brass end was put on the wrong side of this tab. So I moved her around, and sure enough, we got plenty of room, and now that clicks right in to the very last slot, into the park slot. See, I have the cable other end at the transmission completely unhooked, and even then this still wasn't wanting to go into park, and that was because it just couldn't. It was bottoming out too fast, too soon on that end there. So I think that is going to be the most of our trouble. So now I am going to readjust at the bottom. Let's see, they want it in low when you do that. I wonder if I can find a clip for this, because it was not on there. I should have one at home. Anyway, see if we can button this up. And then the other thing, I don't know if it was even supplied, but they have a light socket here. So that needs to get probably installed into the gauge lighting system. So probably run a couple wires for that. All right, well, shifter saga comes to a close. I did call Holly and Lance, really nice guy. I will say this about Holly. When you do call them, they do try for you, and I've always had good luck getting nice guys on the phone. He didn't have any clear answers for me. Wanted me to take pictures, send them to him, and he would do his best to get back to me and figure something out. I was taking pictures, and I noticed that we have a set screw. Why it takes me this long sometimes to just slow down and take a look at what's happening. We have a set screw that stops this thing from going all the way into the lowest gear position. So, no wonder, at least I'm assuming that's it. So we'll take that out and see if we get all 7 notches now. Bet we will. Historically, me being the quiet guy in the room, believe it or not, I get comments occasionally that I talk too much on these videos, which is funny to me. This is very funny to me. Anyway, I do try to cut a lot of it out. It's funny how you don't notice things until there's just a problem and you finally got to figure it out. Some of you may have been yelling at the screen, cussing a guy, you know, about a set screw if you knew about it. Holly didn't know about it. There is absolutely no mention of it in the book. So it just took me finally taking a little bit of time and saying, what is keeping that shifter handle from going that much farther backwards? And then I finally found it. So anyway, that is a problem. If you need 7 clicks out of your B&M shifter, look for a stop screw put in there. By the way, I'm trying this new mic. I know, batteries. Something I never wanted to do, but I'm wondering if it will slow down the echo or not in this half of the shop. This thing, for now, most of the mechanical issues are taken care of, so I can hopefully drive this around the shop a little bit easier. So now I'm going to turn my attention back to the body work and see if we can get that knocked out and get this thing slapped back together for a guy. It's go time. We are almost done with the body work here. We're just a couple spots. I'm going to get some glaze in. As soon as we do this, then we'll get some more primer on here, sand her down. Time for paint. Well, we've got her pretty much whacked out. It's ready for base coat. I'll show you what I'm doing. Now, I do not consider myself a Yoda of the blend, you know. You want to see a Yoda of the blend. Now, he works mostly on modern cars at a dealership, a high-end dealership. But Brian at the Paint Society, that guy is a Yoda of the blend. He's incredible what he can do with paint. But anyway, obviously our repair in primer 400, I have removed clear coat down to 400. You see we're even hitting primer in some spots on our base, on the cowl. And then going into the vent area, I have sanded down the clear coat with 600 because we're gonna retain some of it. And then I've put my fancy pants feathered edge devices in here. The first one is gonna feather off the base coat going over the vent area. And again, I don't paint it. Of course, you wouldn't paint this area at that shallow of an angle anyway, but you know, kind of 45-degree angle-ish, and that'll tend to feather off going under there. So we'll get that in base coat, and then when that's dry, we will remove this first one, hit everything with clear going up to this point. And then when the clear is dry, we can do a little sanding. Anything that's a little dry going up under there, or rather down, we will do a little buffing on that and hopefully get it to blend in real nice. Base coat time. All right, I've got my base coat mixed up. First thing I'm gonna do is spray a card. I have that prepared. This is the paint, that body shop that this truck came out of, that I was working in on the electrical system. He mixed his own paint there, and so this is paint from his mixing bench. So it should be a dead ringer as far as matching the paint goes, but I have never shot, this is a Lesson All base coat SB. Should be just, I believe, as far as I know, just 2-part urethane base coat. But anyway, I'm going to paint the card just to make sure. All I got from him was the base coat color in the can. So I don't have any Lessenol reducers, anything like that. So I mixed it with what I do have, and I mixed it, it's like 60 degrees in here, so I mixed it with fast reducer. Anyway, we're just going to quickly spray that down, and within a couple minutes, if I see no obvious problems, we'll go ahead and paint it. Got a lot of fish eyes on the card, but it's not necessarily clean. And there we go. It is bean time, so I'm gonna run home and eat one. But yeah, we're gonna let this cure, and maybe this afternoon we'll get some clear on it. Looking pretty good so far.
As one panhandler said to another, having liberated a freshly made pie, "I don't know, my little calliope, but we can open it and find out." Huh? Yeah. I wanted to show you something. Oh, sorry. I wanted to show you our blend, but first of all, sometimes you get lucky, right? Tape job between the two colors turned out. I don't know if you could ask for better than that. So that's really nice. But yeah, I'd say my blending fanning paper trick was right about here. And I don't know if the camera can hardly even pick it up. I can feel it get rough right in here, which is to be expected as that thinned out. So that turned out very well. No way anyone is ever going to notice that. So we will just very lightly sand that with very fine grit and buff it out. There's little bits of trash here and there that need to be touched up with that as well. I don't know why. I mean, I cleaned this thing meticulously before we covered it up, you know. But anyway, overall, very pleased Very pleased. Ooh, it's a little chilly in here this morning. We're gonna have to figure out some fuel oil, some diesel. Guys, I think that's gonna do it for this video. We've done plenty here and we have plenty more to do. We're getting close. Got to get the door back on, the panel, the cardboard panel on, trim pieces, mirrors, wipers, things like that. I'm also currently revisiting the electrical system. You'll recall that I put an entirely new harness in this thing, but I was never able to finish wiring it because the body and the lights were not complete. The bed wasn't on it when it was at that body shop, and the bumper wasn't on it, so the park lights weren't in it. You know, I did what I could do, and that's all we could do. Anyway, headlights were giving me problems, and I just touched the contact plate for the harness connector on the dimmer switch, and that fell off, and then the guts puked out, and then the head popped off. None of those scenarios do anyone any good, you know. I know a lot of parts on this thing were ordered from Classic Industries. Not that that's a bad thing, but you know, this could be a nondescript random switch from a foreign source, you know. So I've already got a new standard, what I would consider better quality one in there, wired in, and then the turn signals were giving me fits yet. They just weren't working. I tracked it down into the turn signal switch, took this thing apart, and the little spring-loaded contact points under there, well, one didn't even have springs under it. So I just don't think, for some reason, this is an aftermarket column, obviously, and who knows the quality of this. Unfortunately, I had to buy the exact same one. I could have gotten, actually I did buy a standard at my local parts store that matched this basically, except this aftermarket column, the hook point, the recess, and the screw point for your lever, your turn signal lever, comes straight out. When this wedge shape, that thing comes straight out. A factory one is down on an angle. So if I would put a factory style standard replacement back into here, that turn signal lever would be down at like a 45-degree angle. I could bend it, I could make it work, but it's a nice chromed turn signal switch, you know, and it would ruin it, the finish. So I was kind of on the fence. Do I want to try modifying the lever? Do I want to put another questionable quality turn signal cam back in it? I eventually decided to reorder this thing, and hopefully it works. We'll find out. I'm sure we'll be fine. Anyway, a lot more to do. I thank you for joining me on this one. Come back soon. God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.